Let's call this meeting to order. This is the Appropriations Committee. Welcome to the Appropriations Committee. My name is Rob Clements. I'm from Elmwood, represent Legislative District 2, which is Cass County and Eastern Lancaster County. I serve as chair of this committee. We'll start off by having the members do self-introductions, starting with my far right.
Warren Lippincott, District 34.
District 7, Tony Vargas, South Omaha.
Robert Dover, District 19.
I'm Myron Dorn, District 30.
Christy Armendariz, District 18.
Assisting the committee today is Corey Beerbaum, our committee clerk. To my left is our fiscal analyst, Keisha Patent. If you're planning on testifying today, please fill out a green testifier sheet located by both doors and hand it to the clerk when you come up to testify. If you'll not be testifying but want to go on record as having a position on a bill being heard today, there are yellow sign-in sheets by both doors where you may leave your name and other pertinent information. These sign-in sheets will become exhibits in the permanent record after today's hearing. To better facilitate today's hearing, I ask that you abide by the following procedures. Please silence your cell phones. When hearing bills, the order of testimony will be introducer, proponents, opponents, neutral, and closing. When you come to testify, spell your first and last name for the record before you testify. Be concise. We request that you limit your testimony to 5 minutes or less. Written material may be distributed to the committee members as exhibits only while testimony is being offered. Hand them to the clerk for distribution when you come up to testify. Please make sure you have 12 copies. With that, I'll turn the hearing over. Well, I'm going to say we have 3 bills today. We'll take them in bill number order. And we'll now turn the hearing over to Senator Vargas. And go ahead.
Okay. Welcome, LB 23, Senator Clements. Thank you for being here. Chairman Clements.
Sir Morris, we don't have a helper, and usually we have the bill number up on the thing. Do they? Yeah. Because this is, oh yeah. No.
It's been a short tenure doing this. I've already messed up.
No, you didn't.
I get it. It's all right. Sorry, the kids have to see this.
We'll just
LB 23, Chairman Clements, thank you
we'll
very much.
get the bill number here up on the stand.
Has to be.
I think you did great.
Thank you, Acting Chair Vargas. My name is Rob Clements, R-O-B, C-L-E-M-E-N-T-S. I'm here to introduce LB 23. The following constitutes the reason for this bill, purposes for which are sought to be accomplished. LB 23 is a shall bill introduced to provide a contingency in the event that the Appropriations Committee needs an additional bill to carry out its budget recommendations in the 2024 first special session. It deals with the cash reserve and fund transfers, which is part of the governor's special session call. And I have no other comments about it. Would be glad to take questions.
Any questions? I have one question. I know we had, and this is largely for the record because you and I had this conversation, Chairman Clements, regarding, shell bill, because the bill as it currently stands could be modified. Maybe we don't move forward with it. It's a necessity. However, I don't know if you had any comments or response to if we did put something that's not in the call in the shell bill, how you would handle that, what communication is like with the speaker. I just want to make sure that we're above board on what we put out.
I would intend to follow the call, but I would, yes, I would talk to the speaker first to see if he would be willing to schedule a bill that had something outside of the specific call.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you very much, Chairman Clements. Will you stay for your closing?
I waive my closing.
Okay, thank you. Any proponents for LB 23? Any opponents for LB 23? Anybody in the neutral capacity? You've waived your closing. Thank you very much, Chairman Clements. That closes the hearing on LB 23. We'll now open the hearing on LB 24. Chairman Clements, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Acting Chair Vargas. My name is Rob Clements, ROB-CLEMENTS. I represent District 2. I'm here to present LB 24. LB 24 is a shell bill introduced to provide a contingency in the event that the Appropriations Committee needs an additional bill to carry out its budget recommendations in the 2024 first special session. It deals with appropriations of state agencies, which is part of the governor's special session call. And right now I don't have any content that I know that we'll need, but it's a contingency in case we would need it. And I would be glad to answer questions.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Any questions? Seeing none. Thank you. Will you stay for closing?
Yes.
Thank you. Any proponents for LB 24? Seeing none. Any opponents for LB 24? Seeing none. Anybody in the neutral capacity for 24? Would you have any departing words? You didn't waive your closing?
Thank you for committee, and I will again endeavor to follow the call if there are content put in this, and double check with the speaker for his approval before scheduling.
Thank you, Chairman Clements. Any other questions? I see none. That closes the hearing on LB 24. I almost took your gavel.
All that stuff for two shell bills.
For the.
Well, the next bill we have is LB 58 from Senator Wayne. Is somebody able to contact him? Clerk, could you?
I feel like Fred Knapp. Fred's going to introduce this one, right, Fred? I'm just kidding. I'm just saying.
It's a great bill.
This will fix all the problems.
He's already texting Justin. I'll text him.
Corey, are you able to call his office?
I'm gonna.
Oh, you are? All right, thank you. We'll stand at ease until we hear from the introducer. I don't know if he has bills in other committees or what.
I'm assuming so.
Is the system ready?
Yep, we're good.
All right, we'll now open the hearing for LB 58. Senator Wayne, you may proceed.
Thank you, Chairman Clements. My name is Justin Wayne, JUSTINWAYNE, and I represent Legislative District 13, which is North Omaha, Northeast Douglas County. LB 58, right? Which I don't.
Yes. LB
Oh, appropriations. That's why we're in appropriations, because it says appropriate. I thought this would go to natural resources, but that's okay. So as I was thinking about property tax relief and those kind of things were coming into special session, I started thinking about when I was driving back and forth from Omaha to Lincoln, that they're doing constructions on the medians on both sides of the highway. So if you look at the highways, typically the interstates, there's 4 lanes, and you got this big area in between that's grass that people hate cutting and doesn't really happen. So I thought, why don't we put solar panels in between those two, and MPPD or OPPD could sell them back to the market as a way of revenue generating for the rest of the state to lower property taxes, or at least lower their fees maybe. And so then I started thinking more about that. And then I thought another great place for solar would be on the canal. That would help solve the issue of evaporation of water on the canal. And again, we are trying to move to a greener industry. At least that's what both MPPD and OPPD have testified to in the last couple of years. And they're having a hard time finding land. And all of these interstates and even highways, Highway 83 and now Highway 75, typically have 4 lanes with area in the middle. We could put solar trees, solar panels through them. My estimation, based off of the calculation of how many square feet these would be and how many acres, we would be able to produce close to 100 to 150 megawatts if we were to put these types of solar panels in between the 4 lanes. And that could generate almost $5 million per year, 5 to 10, depending on the market. So that was a thought. Since we were throwing out everything, I wanted to make sure everything was on the table for property tax relief.
All right. Any questions from the committee? Senator Dorn.
Yeah, I understand your concept right. It's on, I call it like the interstate 4-lane highways or whatever. Then you're wanting to put these in the median?
In the median, high enough. Actually, South Korea has already did one. They use it as a bike lane too, so people can bike and commute. But I figured our state patrol and sheriffs would love to have a place to sit, not in the sun, and catch people from speeding. But you could put them in the median. And what they've also started doing is putting them on the exit ramps in those areas that are 1/4 of an acre or acres on each side. So it's just a way. And again, all this is a study. They would have to obviously come with some different funding mechanism. But I think if we're looking at one of our natural resources is the sun, we can depend on it. It rises every day. If it doesn't rise, we probably have a bigger problem than solar. But again, just an idea of how we could generate some revenue to lower property taxes.
One thought I have is what happens when we have vehicles that now they, for whatever reason, end up down in the median and they have a wreck basically.
Right.
Who's liable or what? I mean,
They would be liable. I think we could put up extra guardrails around those, but you got to remember, I'm thinking more of a tree, so they'd be a little bit off the ground. They wouldn't be necessarily on the ground. They'd be higher and almost like a bridge all the way across. That's why I think I framed it a solar highway. So it would be raised. And again, South Korea has already done it and other places are already doing it. Actually in Michigan and Mississippi, they've been doing them on the off ramps. So we have this land and it's available. I think we should put it into production.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I see you have a white copy amendment. Would you describe the changes in the amendment?
The amendment just gives some parameters of where to look, and really it's just the 4 lanes. If the committee were to kick this out, I would also add the canal or any other areas, but I was just trying to give some context of right now where the 4 lanes, interstates and highways are located in the state of Nebraska.
Yeah, I see the green copy talked about construction, but the white copy talks about study.
Study, yeah, it would be study. You couldn't do it for 2 million, so it would be a study.
All right. Any other questions?
Over.
Oh,
I
Senator
just wonder,
Dover.
we out in winter, I guess, big blizzards come up, that kind of stuff. I mean, you see cars, literally we travel always during Christmas season for family reunions. We usually go to Iowa. It would be the same if we went the other direction to west. And you just see basically cars in the ditch everywhere when blizzards hit and those kind of things. And then during summer, we see someone will fall asleep driving a truck or something. I mean, do you know what, like, say 100 feet, if someone went in and destroyed 100 feet of these solar panels, what would it cost to replace them?
No, I don't know off the top of my head what it would cost to replace them. I would think the insurance of the car would cover it. If it's only the $25,000, probably not. But again, I think that's all these questions would be answered in the study to help figure out if it's feasible. I'm just saying the state and the counties own a lot of land and it just sits. I'm trying to think of a way to put it in some kind of production. May not be the best idea. It may be better for pheasant hunting. I don't know, but but I'm trying to figure out a way to put at least the land back in production of some kind.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, do you intend to stay for closing?
No.
All right. Thank you, Senator. We now invite proponents for LB 58. Is there any proponents? Seeing none, anyone here in opposition? Seeing none, anyone here in the neutral capacity?
Consent calendar.
Welcome.
Good morning, Chairman Clements and members of the Appropriation Committee. My name is Dave Rich, spelled Daverich, and I am the Sustainable Energy Manager at the Nebraska Public Power District. I have been with NPPD for 46 years. I am a registered professional electrical engineer with the state of Nebraska. I'm appearing today for the Nebraska Power Association in a neutral capacity to testify on the technical aspects of solar energy. The NPA is a voluntary association formed in 1980, representing all of the approximate 165 publicly owned, consumer-owned electric utilities in the state, including municipalities, public power districts, public power and irrigation districts, and rural public power districts and cooperatives. NPPD's experience with small solar includes 8 community projects installed over the last 8 years, ranging from 96 kW to 8,500 kW. Members of the Nebraska Power Association have community solar projects, including OPPD, Lincoln Electric System, Municipal Energy Agency of Nebraska, cities of Fremont, Hastings, Grand Island, many other cities, and many rural public power districts. To my knowledge, all of these projects take advantage of federal tax credits available to private ownership. And my question is, with the $2 million provided for the solar project, and I did not understand it was for a study when these were developed or drafted. So, what would be the benefit? Would there be a positive return for the investment of that? And maybe it's now focused on actually the land utilization, which is a little different what I'm answering here. But before, as part of this study, there would need to be a solid business case. Would the project be privately owned and qualify for the 30 to 40% federal tax credits, or would it be owned by the state or public power? And would they be able to receive the direct pay federal incentives? Assuming, and we were just calculating for a 1 megawatt or 1,000 kW, it requires about 6 acres of land or rooftop. And what is the cost of this? And I think Senator Wayne has suggested that we look at using available land that the state has. So that is an issue whenever solar projects are being developed, whether it's community solar with a local community, do they have the land available? If it's a larger project, there's issues about taking farm ground out of production for potentially solar. The price of community solar projects has been increasing in part due to the increase of the cost of panels, the racking, inverters, grid interconnection, O&M, including insurance. Small projects of this size do not benefit from the economies of scale like large projects that OPPD has with the 81 megawatt Platteview project. And that will be another thing that has to be studied if this goes forward, is what are the economics of putting it over a half section of ground versus along the right of ways in between the lanes, that type of thing. So there's definitely some impacts there. Bottom line is solar energy is growing in Nebraska and will play a critical role in meeting public power consumer owners' energy needs. I'd also like to point out that the Nebraska Wind and Solar Conference is being held October 22nd, 23rd here in Lincoln at the Cornhusker Marriott. If you or your staff are interested in learning more about solar, consider attending that. And thank you for the opportunity to testify. I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Other questions? Senator Dover?
Yeah, I just was wondering, what's the efficiency or comparison, say you were in southern Arizona versus Nebraska on the interstate for solar energy?
So solar is definitely better in Arizona than Nebraska. One of the challenges when you get down to Arizona is the efficiency goes down with high temperatures. And so they lose some of the efficiency there. But definitely the Southwest has better solar. Even across Nebraska, Western Nebraska has better solar than Eastern Nebraska because there's more moisture, more clouds in Eastern Nebraska. The humidity is much lower at Western, the altitude's higher. So there is some differences. So, Nebraska, you might see anywhere from 26% efficiency down to 20% going across the state. I don't have the exact numbers, but just that concept. And you may be at 30% or 35% in Arizona. But there's trade-offs there. You have to have load to use it. And in the desert where there's a lot of sun, there's not load. So then you got to build a very expensive transmission to get it to load. So there's pluses and minuses of wherever you locate solar. But solar is being installed in North Dakota, Minnesota, further north with even less than Nebraska cost effectively.
Sorry, thank you.
Senator Dorn?
Thank you, Senator Clements. Thank you for being here today. I guess mine is I can't tell you exactly why Senator Wayne brought this, other than the state of Nebraska has a lot of land, and that's why I think he was proposing along these. What is when you're building a solar field or project, is one of the, I guess, how much does the land cost pay into it? Because here Nebraska would have the land for this project, that if we see a return or have some group build it and then we get a return off of it, I think that's somewhat the concept he maybe has. Don't know for sure, but what part does the land play in a project?
So different aspect of land. One of the bigger challenges is actually getting zoning approval for that within a county. Okay, so if you're taking out prime corn irrigated ground, and right now the payments for that typically around maybe $800 an acre per year. And so some farmers are looking at that and say, that's a lot better than I can do raising corn without taking all the risk. And so, but there's also, you have to be careful. Some of those developers are offering escalation. Others are saying it's $800 flat for 25 years. So you need to take that into account. And then another big factor is the transmission, being able to interconnect into the existing transmission system. So you see a lot of solar projects being developed along lines that are 161,000 volts or higher, so they can put that generation on there. So the land price is important, but some of these other factors are probably more important right now in getting projects built. One of the benefits of a smaller projects are you don't need to go through the Southwest Power Pool study process if you can keep them below 5 megawatts and don't generate into the transmission grid. And so there is some benefits from that standpoint on the smaller projects.
Thank you. But one more thought then, I guess.
Yes.
He talked about in the median, but I call it along the interstate on either side. There's quite an area also along the fence. If they put one grid of solar panels for 2-3 miles, that's not near as efficient as, I call it, putting them all on a quarter section of ground where you have them all together.
So one of the things that will need to be looked at is tracking systems. So tracking systems, there's different designs, but most of them have a long row and they face the east in the morning and then they slowly rotate. So at high solar noon, they're straight up, and then at the west. So those type of projects you normally would want to have on north-south runs, okay, and fairly long runs. So that really doesn't fit in as well with the interstate, would be my initial reaction. There's also just flat mount where you just face them into the south and you don't track. The efficiencies aren't quite as good, but that may be a better application for along the interstate.
Thank you. Thank you for the information.
Senator Lippincott?
2 questions. This falls outside of your realm of expertise, but I wonder what the Department of Transportation has to say regarding any kind of obstructions in the roadway of federal highways interstate highway in particular. The
I
other
have the
question.
same question as I heard that, how would they react to this?
Yeah. And then the other question I have is solar panels, for the most part, are built and made, manufactured, and parts procured in the country of China. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yep. Do we make any solar panels here in the USA?
There are being made in the US, and there's more with the big incentives for it to be developed. There's potential more projects being developed in the US and potentially even one here in Nebraska. I didn't say that here, you didn't hear that here, but there's potential for that to develop. And so again, because of the restraints and the embargoes and the tariffs are, out of state or out from China specifically, and the labor force they use, there's a lot of benefits of trying to develop that technology, make it cost efficient here in the US.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions?
I guess what I said is on the record, no matter what I said, right?
Yes, the amendment doesn't limit it to a study. It also has construction in the remaining in the bill,
Okay.
if it's amended that way. And you use an example of a 1,000 kilowatt needing 6 acres. Do you have an idea what it would cost to build 6 acres of
So
solar?
it's roughly, and again, a lot depends on how it's designed, but let's say ballpark about $3 a watt or $3,000, and make sure $3 a watt, $3,000 a kilowatt. And so then you're gonna have to take that $3 million for a megawatt. My math in my head is right. $3 a watt, 3,000 for a kilowatt, and 3 million for a
1,000 kilowatts is a
megawatt, or
million
1,000
watts, yeah,
kilowatt, yes.
okay. $3 million. So we only have 2 million here, and that'd be a pretty small output.
Yeah, it'd be relatively small. And again, it all depends on the situation and whether whoever's doing this could get the tax credits. That's a big, big play in these solar projects. And the ones that are going forward in the state are getting those tax credits, and throughout the whole US. It's just.
So it would be a private company that builds it and leases the real estate from the owner. And then they own the solar panels, or
They get the investment tax grant, which is based on their investment. And then they typically look for an off-taker, which may be the electric utility that's located there. And then they would like to enter into like a 25-year power purchase agreement where they sell that energy to that utility at a contracted price. And so, for example, it may start out at 4 cents a kilowatt hour. It may have some escalation in it, depending what's negotiated. But that's how the process historically has worked here in Nebraska.
all right. Any other questions? Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
Are there other neutral testifiers? All right. Seeing none, Senator Wayne waived his closing, so that will conclude the hearing on LB 58. But we do have some comments. We have position comments for the record. 2 proponents, 2 opponents, none in the neutral capacity. And that concludes the hearing on LB 58. Thank you. And committee is adjourned to room 1003.
Let's go.